The Wiggly Podcast, bringing your garden to life.
Welcome to the Wiggly Podcast. If you want... Start again. Welcome to the Wiggly Podcast. If you are wondering why you've tuned in, over to Farmer Phil to read out our latest review.
The very latest review is from Chris the Courier.
Oh, I know Chris the Courier.
You do know Chris the Courier, and he's given us 5 stars. He's a good old boy. One of the best podcasts out there. Dear Heather and the gang, great entertainment and education. Laugh my socks off. Hope you go on forever, despite Heather telling me off for delivering some stuff to Lower Blakemere instead of the shop. I only went to the address on the box. I'm with you, mate. Right, you stand up to her, Chris.
He came here, and it was obviously for the warehouse.
Leave it.
So, Chris the Courier, where does he hail from?
They work from Gloucester, don't they, their base?
Right.
Chris the Courier came and the parcel was for the Woodlands warehouse. We had a little chat and he said, I'm totally into podcasts. I said, listen to ours, Chris, you'll enjoy it. And so there he is.
Right.
Hello, Chris. For the rest of you that have been tuned in forever, I'm Heather from Wiggly Wigglers.
I'm Richard from
somewhere. Christ knows that. Ignore it. He's just Richard.
I'm Richard.
He's Richard.
Can I say?
Yeah.
Shall we start again? I'm Richard from Bugs and Beasties, occasionally on Wiggly Wigglers. Assuming that we should say the same thing, Chris Evans style every week.
And I'm Farmer Phil in a supporting role.
It's a love thing today because Valentine's Day, it's Valentine's
Oh God, I can't
week.
gaze into his
It's a
eyes
love
for any length of time.
It's quite scary. It's quite scary. Phil and I stared into each other's eyes. That was quite shocking there for a moment. That was just let the shiver down my spine.
Oh God, I feel sick.
You feel sick.
It's a love thing. It's Valentine's week and our lovely florists have been packing and putting together the most gorgeous flowers, not including lilies, not including statice, not including, what was the other thing? September.
Okay.
And so
There were
Rich and
choice
I...
goodies going in, though, I feel.
Rich and I have been out to just see what they're up to. Here we go. But first, we've decided to share with you, completely anonymously, a few of the messages that we've had in on the Wiggly Bouquets. So, Rich, over to you.
It's an interesting
Don't
one.
say who it's to. Don't say who it's from.
I can't say that, can I?
No.
Even though I know you peculiar chap, you. Dear Mayo, I love you so very much because you feed me almost every day, stroke me and let me sleep in your knicker drawer where it's all nice and warm. Oh, my fairy love. Meow. The funniest thing about this message is that Karen, who's just printed it out for us, said she had to ring the guy and ask him to confirm his credit card details.
Poor man. You poor chap. Apparently he said it was from the cat. Here we go, to the floristry. Hello, Laurie. Hello, Hannah.
Laurie's here, and Hannah's here as well, and doing some marvellous things, I think, in this shall we say, slightly chilly packing shed.
It's a good reason, because flowers don't like warmth, do they, Flory? No.
Yeah. So it's not just you're not just being tight, not putting the heating on. It's
not that.
For a genuine reason.
So Valentine's Day.
Cooking the foliage.
Valentine's Day is on Sunday.
See, I agreed. You see, I had no idea when Valentine's Day was then.
Said by a true man.
Thank you.
And
I'll take that as a compliment.
these lasses are busy on putting together lots of bouquets with willow hearts made from willow. Can you see them?
I can see them, yes.
Yeah.
Did we do something similar to that a while ago? Phil beat me, didn't he? Phil was better at...
you made a wiggly one.
Phil was better at making flower bouquets than I was.
Yeah.
That's what comes with going to public school, though.
Took him years. I'm just going to ask them what flowers are in the bouquets. OK, Laurie, what's in the bouquet today, girlie?
Red tulips,
Red tulips.
Purple phlox.
Purple phlox.
Cream alstroemeria.
Cream alstroemeria.
Purple iris.
Purple iris.
Broom.
Broom.
Ivy.
Ivy.
Pussy willow.
Pussy willow.
Dogwood.
Dogwood.
Red chrysanth.
Red chrysanth.
Eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus.
You're on the generation.
Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Not thyme.
Not thyme.
Not thyme.
No. Beautiful rosemary. September flower.
No.
Oh. Isn't
We've got-
that September flower?
That's broom.
Oh.
White, pink or yellow.
Statice.
No.
Lilies.
No.
Okay. Anything else?
Some crinkly willow.
Oh, make it wiggly.
Catkins.
Catkins. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
How many
Dogwood.
bouquets are you aiming to do today for Valentine's Day? Dear Laurie, yeah?
Yesterday we did 40 plus and we're probably aiming to do the same today.
Lovely. And tomorrow? The big day, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right.
Try and get ahead today.
I can feel that they want us to leave, Rich.
Yeah.
I think. But as far as attractive hats concerned, who do you suppose is wearing the prettiest beanie? I think it's probably Laurie's is certainly the prettiest beanie because it has a fantastic little flower attached to the side of it.
I vote for
And
Hannah's.
is possibly slightly more practical, maybe.
No, Hannah's is more cool and trendy. And Laurie's is more pretty.
Okay, well, I'm sure they'll be.
They
more
want
than
us to
pleasing.
leave.
We'll talk about that.
Let's go.
See you guys.
Yeah. Have a good day. Those are nice.
They are. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're
There's a lot of colour in here now. I particularly like the pussy willow. That's going to be coming out in the countryside soon. That's something that we can really bring some sort of hope that the weather's going to change and warm up a little bit.
So this pussy bit on the willow,
Yeah.
what exactly is it?
It's a flower, so it's a female flower. So essentially, it predisposes the fruits of the plant. But I suppose in this instance, these guys, because they seem to be particularly inundated with little flowers, don't they?
They're gorgeous, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I wonder if do you think they're grown in a particular way to make them flower to a greater extent than the ones you might see outside?
Yeah, I
naturally?
think they're under glass, aren't they?
Okay,
Yeah, some way.
you know more about that than me, but
I
they do look absolutely beautiful. Because they come. Where do these come from? Cornwall.
The wholesaler buys most of this in Pershore,
Right.
so I'm not totally sure.
So it could be in the
It's guaranteed
in the
the
Vale of
UK, but it's probably Lincoln and Cornwall predominantly at the moment.
Right.
Although we were phoned up the other day and offered some lovely Welsh daffodils from
wow.
just by Newport. So
Right.
we're going to meet that chap in the car park at Waitrose next Thursday week.
How's he gonna do you a good
we'll
deal?
see how we get on.
Where'd you get them from? No questions asked.
I hope he's not been out there with his secateurs in the night. But I will know
No,
because his van will say Welsh daffodils or
Okay.
not.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that seems like a great thing to have with some daffs from Wales.
I think so, and I meet him in the car park when I'm picking up Monty from school.
It's good time and motion exercise
Absolutely.
as well.
Come on, Rick, you
Further
gotta go.
reducing the carbon footprint of those flowers.
Absolutely, because Monty's got to be picked up,
Yeah.
and he has
Yeah,
a
we
rugby
can't walk,
match
can't
just
walk.
at the moment when the Welsh man is passing by with his daffodils.
Right.
So it can't go wrong, really.
You can't. Fantastic.
So, are you more romantic if you pay for a Saturday delivery? That's my question. Roses are red, violets are blue, flowers are beautiful, and so are you. Dear Mr. You are not a poet. Here we go. Dear Heather, having listened to podcast 209, I feel I need to provide your listeners with some clarification. As the husband of the Wiggly Podcast stalwart, Gillian, do you remember her? I think she wrote to us from her bed, I think.
Yeah.
I listened with interest to her description of herself as a gardener with organic aspirations.
It sounds like there's a home truth coming now.
Well, I was thinking about this. Bearing in mind this is, Valentine's Day, and this says anon, well, Gillian's husband, it's hardly romantic to sort of dish the dirt, is it?
Well, we haven't heard the dirt yet. I'll
Here
tell
we
you how
go.
romantic it is in a
Here we
minute.
go. I listened with interest to a description of herself as a gardener with organic aspirations. I then pointed out that in her battle against that scourge of the small garden, the slug, she is quick to turn to that most contentious of approaches, the slug pellet. Surely that vibrant blue tinge can't be of vegetable origin. Whilst not wanting to drop her in it, of course, I felt it was only fair to share this with you. Best wishes, Anon. Well, Gillian's husband. You dirty rat!
But do we know what type of slug pellet it is? Because there are good slug pellets and there are bad slug pellets.
Oh,
so you see,
they're blue.
You know, this gentleman needs to get his facts straight.
I was going to say, there aren't many that I would describe
as
as good in the environmental sense, but there are not so bad ones.
There are better ones,
and
certainly.
there are how you use them, which is the crucial bit.
Oh, God. You see, this is my frustration, dear listener. Here I am, purveyor of all things gardening, with a perfectly adequate set of solutions to slug control, ranging from copper tape to copper barrier thingamajigs rings to nematodes.
Was it Cardiff University get in touch with you about myrrh?
They did.
Right, and how did you...
I've got some in my basket upstairs.
Right.
They're just working out how to bag it.
Right. That's interesting stuff here, because Terry of Walton fame tried some of this, I think it was probably impregnated bran with myrrh around some of his sensitive plants, and it worked an absolute treat in keeping the slugs off it. And the other thing, you know, that certainly Garden Organic tried to promote are slug pellets iron phosphate. So rather than using something that contains metaldehyde, methiacarb is also hellish, but it's not really freely available.
Hang on, what?
Methiacarb is a poison.
It's methiacarb.
Okay, well, it's all in the pronunciation. and metaldehyde.
Well, Michael still calls IKEA.
It's also very bad, but
because now you're into my area, which is metaldehyde and methiacarb.
Yeah,
methiacarb is a nasty chemical, but it's easier to use with less effect on the environment because the pellets that methiacarb comes in do not wash into. They're much more water resistant. Metaldehyde pellets are the ones that dissolve in water too quickly and end up with the metaldehyde in the watercourses, which is what causes all the problems. Metaldehyde pellets work in the dry best. Methiacarb will work when conditions are wetter and more difficult.
Can you still get methiacarb?
Yeah, they are the premium product, but they're very expensive.
Okay.
Tomato.
It's just anyway, but I think the best thing is to avoid either of those hellish things and you know, be more creative in your slug prevention management plan. Wouldn't you say?
Good Lord, Rich. So what we need to do is get the old copper rings up.
Well, so of course realistically Phil's not going to be able to use nematodes like as gardeners can on his field because it cost him an absolute fortune.
97,000, I think we worked out.
I reckon the price of wheat need to firm a bit before we get to there.
Firm is, I reckon, yeah, certainly. But as gardeners, we don't need to make a living from our outdoor space. So the reality is that we can be much more imaginative in our approach to eradicating slugs.
Right, what are we going to do? What would you do?
Well, what do I do?
Small garden, says Julian. That's a problem. So she's worried that it'll all get eaten.
Yeah, they don't get eaten. So you've got all your barriers. So you've got your scrunched up eggshell and your bran and your wood ash and your oats and things like that. Then of course you've got your inverted grapefruit skins that slugs and things collect in at night, which you can pick and get rid of. Of course you've got your if you're feeling energetic, go out on a warm, wet night and stab and cut them in half or drop them into boiling water or something like that. So a physical picking. Then you've got your nematodes, which
you can treat as hunting.
Which well, I suppose in a way, and which are incredibly effective, but they do need to be applied certainly 3 times during the growing season. They are incredibly effective, and you notice the benefits of those the year after. So subsequent growing seasons benefit greatly from using nematodes. And things like slug pellets that contain things like iron phosphate rather than metaldehyde or methiacarb. Be aware, listener. Go into a garden centre or a DIY centre or something like that, and it's got bio pellet or environmentally friendly pellet. It's not always the case. Look at the ingredients and then make your assessment, make your judgment based on the ingredients at the back of the bottle. If you're going to use slug pellets,
forget going there, because the thing is, it's just full of crochet and houseplants and scones that aren't quite right.
I can't remember the last time I went to a garden centre. It's a long time ago.
Go to a
nursery,
yeah,
where the people that grow the plants know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I hate garden centres. Flipping stained glass now. They've got them. Who's going to sit down and do that? What am I going to do today? Oh, I'll colour in a piece of glass into different colours in a kit. It's what they are. Just anyway.
What are you lot on about?
Iron phosphate, dear.
There were 3 things I was going to add to the slug issue. You can also use diatomaceous earth, which helps. And the other thing is that when you're trying to protect seedlings and plants growing from seed, don't be frightened to have a firm seedbed. If you make the seedbed firm, the slugs can't move around in it and they don't breed as quickly. So the plant gets away. And that's a key part of our defence against them, that we roll the crop in, have a firm seedbed so that the slugs can't get about.
Are you insured against slugs?
Insured?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice.
But you're insured against dogs coming and worrying your animal.
There are some things that insurance company, but my final point is, and this is quite an important point, is that if you do use slug pellets of whatever sort, whether they're environmentally friendly ones or traditional blue slug pellets, particularly in the garden, the temptation is to put on a small mountain of them round the plant that you want to protect, and that's where problems occur. The rate that you need to put them on at is by and large far less than you think it is. So just a couple of pellets will be enough. To make the place blue, it'll rain and then the chemical ends up in the drain where it shouldn't be. Yeah. It takes remarkably little of these chemicals to do the job. If you go out to a field that I've spread with slug pellets, you will have a job to find many. They'll be there, but not many. And if you look in the garden where people sprinkle them by hand round a plant, the rate is ridiculously high and unnecessary. The garden centre loves you because you use up all the slug pellets and go and buy some more.
I was listening to a well-known gardening show on Radio 4 a couple of weeks ago, and one of the
does it begin with GQT?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. One of the panel suggested that if you put too many slug pellets down, certainly if they contain something like metaldehyde, then that it puts the slugs off eating them because they're deterred by the heavy scent of the metaldehyde in the pellet. So by sprinkling it very sparingly, you're more likely to bump them off. So that's another reason why.
Certainly in a field situation, we tend to use a mixture of metaldehyde and methiacarb at a low rate, and the idea is that they will eat the metaldehyde first because that degrades quicker, and then the methiacarb hangs around because the pellet will hang together, which gives us longer term, and because they're small pellets, it's the number of baiting points per square metre that we're looking at.
Would you, I mean, I know you don't want to necessarily humour me. In fact, it's something that you reel against in most instances, but would you perhaps look at treating an area with, say, pellets that contain iron phosphate, and comparing that area that you've treated with those pellets with your conventional means of treatment to see if there are any real differences in production levels of your crop?
There are trials being done all the time to do just that. I hadn't heard about iron phosphate, but certainly the cider apple industry produced a alternative slug pellet that they thought might work, and there were trials being conducted on that based on pectin waste. Essentially, it draws the moisture out of the slug and makes it explode.
Yeah.
But that didn't actually work. The real point is to understand the slug's life cycle and aim your treatment at some point in that life cycle that breaks it. So that...
What is a slug's life cycle?
They just breed. But if it's very dry, they won't. If the seed bed's very firm, they won't. If you plant your crop in about 3 weeks, assuming there's moisture, you'll get the flush of slugs.
Yeah, but you water your crops in the garden, don't you?
But the 3-week period is the same. So you'd never put slug bait on more than once every 3 weeks for a start, because it's pointless. But if you can, at some point within that 3-week period, So after the eggs have hatched and before they've done too much damage, get them to eat the slug bait, then you can have a really good effect in one go. It's when you lose control of the whole situation and you end up having to put slug bait on, the slug bait on, the slug bait on, or whatever other treatment, and you can never gain on them. And that's where the problem happens.
A Valentine's message from the office.
I thought these would suit instead of our spa trip. Not so sure a bunch of flowers would have beat a spa trip for me.
Phil, you've got a message. Valentine's. Snap, snap. Get to it.
All I can think of is Bridget Jones. The message is, for the 13th. Might be some error there, mate, but anyway. Dear Big Pants, I love you so much. You're flat-footed Neanderthal.
That's to me then, isn't it?
Nice.
Because I got big knickers and you are a flat-footed Neanderthal.
Maybe, but according to the name at the top of this sheet of paper, this is not intended for your direction.
And it's Nestbox Week. Rich, the thing is, what's about decorated nestbox and tin roofs? Because the RSPB say they're no good. Actually, they sell them as well.
Right.
But they said brightly coloured nest boxes will attract predators, and they said that tin roofs make your brood too hot.
The expression under a hot tin roof came from somewhere, didn't it? So it's not going to be the most pleasant. But I suppose if you had a wooden roof and there was perhaps some copper sheeting over the top of it, I mean, obviously that's going to put the value of your nest box up somewhat, the cost of copper these days, but equally that would look pretty fabulous as the copper greens in time. That wouldn't particularly warm up the interior of the nest box to any great extent because you obviously have that buffering of the wooden panel underneath it. But to be very honest, I don't think I've ever seen a nest box with a tin roof.
Oh, there's lots about...
Okay, well, I'm a bit rusty, you see. I've not been looking these days.
We just do the traditional types or the ceramic, which
Right.
they also say ceramic's not very good.
Right.
Because it doesn't hold in the...
Well, it radiates heat quite dramatically as well, doesn't it? So.
But do you really have to be this fussy, is my question. I mean,
No.
I can see that the really decorative ones without the right size hole and ones that look like they've not been made for a bird aren't going to work. But other than that, isn't it? I just think,
the most important with the nest box is
rules.
where you put it, which direction it faces, and how big the entrance hole is.
If the nest box is inappropriate in some way in terms of aspect, position or whatever, the birds won't use it.
Well, I keep thinking that.
That's precisely right. Which is why often people will say, "Oh, I've got this nest box. It's been there for 3 years. Birds have never used it." You say, "Well, which direction is it facing?" And is it
got a snowdrift in it.
Can the bird get through the hole?
a really hellish position, and you'd say, "Well, yeah, actually, it is. You know, it gets blasted by the winds the whole time, and you know, the entrance hole."
And of course, brings up the thought that if you feed your birds dutifully, do you have to have on average a larger hole in your nest box due to slightly porky
rotund tit? Indeed.
Moving on. Have you got the next Valentine's message?
No, I haven't, but I've got another review.
Okay.
Now, this one comes from
tit.
All Bear, and he's been gracious, or I'm assuming he has been gracious enough to give us another 5 stars. What a delight time we have. Now, this is appropriate for Valentine's. We enjoy having Heather and the crew in bed with us. Well, we only recently subscribed to Wiggly Wigglers, so I have plenty of backdated podcasts to listen to. So before going to sleep, we snuggle up under the duvet and listen to the adventures you all have. Cheers for all the good advice. Hell.
Anyway, nighty-night, All Bear. We're nearly finished now. Give your missus a little peck on the cheek or whatever you want to do, because it's Valentine's week, it's Nest Box week, it's Love week. Time for a Montycast. A weekly fact on wiggliness.
The Montycast, a weekly fact on wiggliness. Bumblebees have 4 wings. The 2 rear wings are small and are usually attached to the 4 wings by a row of hooks called hamuli. Another Montycast next week.
Just before we go, last Valentine's messages from all those little wigglets in the office writing out the cards. And the thing is, Don't you hate it when you get a printed card and there they are writing them out? Every now and again they have a little tickle to themselves about the message, but we love having them. And just in case you think we've been completely unsubtle reading them out, those were last year's, because we couldn't read out this year's because they were so raving rude. Bye from me.
Bye from me.
And bye from me.
Mrs. Sugarplum, you are my Valentine, my love, Mr. Sugarplum.
I thought these would suit instead of our spa trip. Not so sure a bunch of flowers would have beat a spa trip for me.
You're my scrummylicious me.
I can still take a hint. Kiss, kiss, kiss.